Hey guys, welcome to Little Smart News Coffee Talk, although I am drinking hot water and lemon, which might be indicative for how this week has gone. How does it feel like to witness U.S. history in the making? We're going to talk a little bit about that, our top 3 stories in 5 minutes or less, although this week I'm going to do our top 3 things we should know about impeachment and 2 other news stories I think you should consider. And I'm going to try to do that in 5 minutes or less, which might be a Christmas miracle, but here's for trying. So here's the first thing I think you should know. The House of Representatives approved articles of impeachment against President Trump. The House of Representatives has a job when it comes to the impeachment proceeding, and that is to formulate the charges. The Senate is responsible for whether or not to convict someone. So the House of Representatives is responsible for charges, the Senate is responsible for conviction, and that's how their jobs are divided. That is why this week is the end of one chapter and the beginning of the next. So think about it that way. When we say impeachment, it sounds so serious, and it is. It's very serious. When we say the House of Representatives impeached a president, it's sort of the middle of the process, not the end. The second thing I think you should know about is some historical context that I learned while doing some reporting this week. Did you know that there are 11 U.S. presidents that had impeachment resolutions filed against them? 2 in the 1800s and 9 in the modern era. And so in the modern era, we've seen the pace of these impeachment resolutions pick up. So, for example, President Reagan, President Bush 1, President Clinton, President Bush 2, all had impeachment resolutions filed against them. Resolution is sort of like a proposal. It can go somewhere or it may not. In President Clinton's case, it went somewhere to articles of impeachment and eventually a Senate trial. In the other cases, it didn't. But because the pace of impeachment has picked up, that's why there are some that say, hey, wait a minute, impeachment is actually being used by both parties as a political tool, not necessarily to seriously remove a president from office. That's an opinion, but these are the numbers that are associated with that opinion. So something to consider. Final thing you should know about this impeachment process is Democrats and Republicans actually agree upon something. Republicans have complained about the process led by Democrats, and Democrats are complaining about the process now that's going to be led in the Senate by Republicans. I think you should know that our historical template for how this should all work out is limited because we've only seen this twice before when it comes to a U.S. president. Interesting to note, there are 15 senators that were present for President Clinton's impeachment trial that will be around for President Trump's. So perhaps they have an idea of how this should play out based on their past experience. But again, we don't have this extraordinary depth to draw from. We're limited. So I think we should be honest about what we don't know. So those are a couple things that we should keep an eye on when it comes to impeachment. 2 other stories I think you should know about that could really affect your life. One is being the flu. There's some new information from the CDC just out today that really shows again that the pace of cases of the flu have picked up in America. We're still at an elevated level, and I want to show you 2 maps. The first map is the map for this year. You can see the red on the map that's reflecting flu activity in elevated levels in certain states around the country. I want to show you as well the map from last year at the same time, and you can see much less red on that map. What this shows us is that flu activity has increased. It doesn't necessarily mean that the flu is more severe. It just means that it's arrived. Hospitalization rates are about the same as last year. So we're not necessarily seeing, again, more serious or severe cases. It's just here now. And that's why some experts believe that we'll see the peak of the flu in the next few weeks rather than, let's say, in February. So it's just a reminder to stay healthy during the holiday season. I thought that was important to mention to you. On the healthcare beat, though, there's one other story I think you should know about. Here's the background. So the Affordable Care Act, which is known as Obamacare, has been challenged in court by some Republican governors and state attorneys. And what they have said is that the law is, this is their argument, that the law is unconstitutional because it's requiring Americans to purchase something, and that's something the government can't do. Remember, part of the Affordable Care Act was you had to purchase insurance, otherwise you'd be penalized through a tax. But Congress removed that penalty. And so now there's that argument, well, can you force an American to purchase anything? Healthcare, shoes, a certain type of avocado? Can you actually do that? A lower court ruled that it was unconstitutional to have a mandate for an American to purchase health insurance. A federal appeals court this week upheld that, tossed it back to the lower court and said, well, what does this mean for the law? If this part of the law is unconstitutional, can the Affordable Care Act still exist? That's a big question. We're not going to have an answer anytime soon, but I just want you to be aware that it's going on. Sort of an interesting side story to watch. Final little kicker for you. "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" is a favorite poem this time of year. An American man wrote it for his kids, and then he got a little embarrassed about it when it was published. I'm going to tell you about that on Smarter News this week, so follow along with us. As always, appreciate your support. If you'd like to hear more on any story, email me, info@smarternews.com. I'm Jenna. Thanks for following Smarter News.